Hello everyone. Welcome to the JDC West 2016 Human Resources case presentation. Thank you to our judges, Heather Ryan from Federated Cooperative Limited, Cheryl Carver, the Associate VP of Human Resources at the University of Saskatchewan, Teresa Bure from the Federated Cooperatives Limited, Yuthapala Senarantha Tanakone from Mount Royal University, Marian Deutscher from Potash Corp, Kavita Burton from Potash Corp. Potash Canada. Competitors will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following the presentation, judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask presentators questions. The volunteer timekeeper will show time cards at various intervals to indicate the remaining time and will stop any speaker who exceeds the maximum time limit. No questions, comments, cell phones, or picture taking will be permitted from the audience at any time. The audience will only be permitted to applaud following the question and answer period. The audience is banned from any material that bears the name or symbol of a competing university. We ask that the audience exit the room immediately following the question and answer period. Competitors, you may begin when you are ready.
Good morning, Mr. Cook. Thank you for seeing us this morning. I'm Michael, and here we have Garrett and Kelsey, and together we make Team H, otherwise known as MGK Consulting. And today we really want to ask, what is the purpose of an organization? Well, to help explain this, I'd like you to imagine a target, as though my hand is a target, and your organization is an arrow. The purpose of an organization is to wedge itself exactly in that bullseye. The bullseye being all of your goals as an organization collectively. So the purpose of an organization is to take many different people with many different skill sets, many different knowledge bases, and direct them towards that unified goal. So what's standing in the way? Well, Garrett here will take us through that.
So the problem statement that we came up with through the information you gave us is how can Pareto Engineering integrate new staff while maintaining satisfaction of all employees and company prosperity? So we found that this came down to 3 primary issues with the secondary issues just listed underneath. And the first of those is conflict between employees. That's with the employees that you have had and the new ones that you have taken on recently. A lot of that is with misunderstanding and mistrust, as well as having a difference in culture of where those new employees used to work, and then the culture that they've been introduced to now, which is very different. The second primary issue is with the clashing structures. So not only is it the culture very different, but the whole way the structure of your organization is structured is very different as well. The old Halcon staff had more compensation back when they worked there, as well. They had higher ranks before they moved over to your company, and that's something that needs to be dealt with. As well, in Halcon, they promote higher autonomy, as well as now with your company there is more policy and more delegation, and that's the differences that we see. The third primary issue has to do with unclear identity. So when the Halcon employees came over, it's very unclear as to what kind of direction your company is taking, and there is that misunderstanding with them, as well as you can see through the information that your employees that you have had aren't able to understand what the need is for change with bringing in these employees, and there is that misunderstanding of the identity.
Okay, so Mike and I are going to take you through a little bit of an analysis. So you want to start with your strengths, and right now you've just acquired 500 very skilled employees from one of your main competitors, which is a huge strength. You also have onboarding systems in place, such as your internal blogs, you have the surveys, and this is great. This really lets them know your culture.
Yeah. So the key takeaway of this is fantastic for you. You now have immediate access to many different skill sets, broader sets of knowledge, and it really does forecast a great future for the quality of your products.
But with saying that, a weakness like Garrett mentioned before is that you do kind of have that culture clash between the old organization and your organization. And you also have the experience of your old employees feeling a little bit neglected as you implement all of these onboarding systems. The old employees feel like they're not really being taken care of as much.
So in taking 500 employees so suddenly, there is a disparity in understanding. Both parties aren't sure of the motives of each or why there is so much accommodation or even the presence of one or the other.
With this, we do see a huge opportunity to take that outside talent and really utilize it in your organization. Another key factor that the other organization had that you didn't was an oil and gas division. So we see this as an opportunity for you to be able to take that knowledge and that knowledge that a rival had and bring it into your organization.
So Mr. Cook, you mentioned to us that you do want to grow, and this in fact is a great opportunity to do just that, grow.
And with that, there is the threat of this integration causing a contamination in your culture. And there is an industry incentive for bribery. There was a scandal at the old company, which did cause them to go down. And we see this as being a huge threat in the industry as a whole, and something that really needs to be avoided.
So at this point, if you do not sit down and strategically choose your identity, it is at risk of being lost because of another culture integrating into it.
So what all this means to you is you're in a multi-million-dollar industry and one of your main competitors is gone. This is a huge market share that you can take on and a huge talent pool that you can take on as well. You are already a top engineering firm in North America, and we see there being a huge opportunity for growth in this as well. And you are ready for expansion as well. You've wanted to expand for years, and now you have the methods to do that with it. But we really want to take you back to the employees and really deal with this culture clash first before we deal with anything else.
So first of all, we'd like to take you through 3 distinct alternatives we saw as a solution to this problem. The first is create a separate division, which would wholly encompass the ex-Halcon employees. They would be able to work with their own processes, the old processes, separate from your own company. The second is integrate the ex-Halcom employees into your own norms, essentially, taking their practices and putting your own rules and policies above what they're currently used to. And lastly is work together, meet with each other, go through an exchange of words to really truly understand where each party comes from and change together. So in order to evaluate these 3 alternatives, we came up with 4 key criteria that we believed should not be compromised in order to ensure the success of your organization. The first being maintain the client base. You took this opportunity to grow, and there's the potential for $105 million at risk. We want to essentially make that secure. The second is employee satisfaction, which can be for both parties, both the ex-Halcom and your current employees. And this can be seen through the survey. You can monitor turnover rates and absenteeism to really monitor this. Third is a clear direction, making sure both sides, both cultures, understand where you as the greater organization want to head towards and essentially align themselves with that direction. That can be seen through the survey. And lastly, a fair employment structure. There's a disparity between what the ex-Halcom employees had in ways of compensation and what you currently offer your employees. And we want to ensure that it's fair between both parties, so this is not a point of contention. That's being their roles, the compensation rates, and utilization rates.
So we've taken the 3 alternatives, Mike, originally showed, and we put them against the 4 criteria that we've displayed. And we found out that with the separate division, though it was still able to maintain the client base and have employee satisfaction, it wasn't able to still bring that clear direction to staff as to where the company wants to go. And it's really not solving that problem. With the next alternative of integrating the new employees into your culture that already exists and into all the structures that you already have, we found that this doesn't maintain the same client base, because you won't be able to take on those projects that the projects that they have already started. Those might not work as well with the new policies and stuff that you already have inside your company. You might lose clients, and in that way we decide not to go ahead with this alternative. So what we are recommending is to change together. And in this, what we'll be discussing with our implementation has a lot to do with having both employees learn from each other and use the best out of best kind of strategies that they both have, and find a way that does work for all of the employees. And we'll be going through that in our implementation.
So essentially, after much deliberation, we found that these two cultures don't inherently clash. What really could happen is just developing understanding with each other. And through developing this understanding, you develop cooperation. And through cooperation, you can have both cultures move towards a unified goal and essentially expand in a direction that you want to expand. And that's why we'd like to present to you the We're All in This Together plan. So we'll take you through, first of all, going through transparency, creating an openness between yourself, your corporation and your employees, and between employees. The second is change management, in order to properly integrate the Halcon employees into your organization. The third is cultural learning, developing that understanding and cooperation between the two subcultures. And lastly, expansion possibilities.
So first, taking you through transparency. We would suggest that first, before you make any other changes, you need to meet with top management. And this is really to make top management your change leaders. They are going to be the ones that go through the rest of the organization and really spread the word of how your organization is going to be shaped after this. After that, we would like you to meet with all of your employees together. We know that you had an integration meeting with all of the Halcon employees, but we would like them to meet with everybody and to just go over the results of that great survey that you did. We did find that you were really positive in your reception for quality and for your market focus. So the Halcon people thought this was great about your organization. But somehow there was a disparity between the customer focus and the bureaucracy of your organization. So we'd really like to make this transparent, open, and the results of this available for everybody to see. So with this, we're going to show that this is probably from a difference in structures from beforehand.
So we found that the reason for this is talking with the top management and having everything re-explained to employees does create that mutual understanding, which we identified at the beginning as a major issue. And this is really trying to solve that, and we think this will well. As well as it promotes trust with your management. It shows that they do care for, they do take advantage of the feedback that you have gotten from the surveys, and you are making an effort to make changes due to that. And then this moves on to the next portion of the implementation.
So next, a really great part of your company right now is that so many of your employees have equity partnership. And we'd like to extend this offer to your new hires as well. As long as they're very qualified and at a certain rank, we think they should also have this opportunity. We would also like to start a think tank for all employees. So what this is a computer-based system where everybody would sit down and be able to anonymously submit feedback to a question that you might say. So this is like your survey, but provides information from everybody together and can provide you with statistics of how many people feel a certain way and really help you get a feel of where your employees are at right now. We would also suggest that you have an interactive job shadowing. So right now, your HailCon employees have brought over quite a bit of business for you that they're completing from their old projects. So we'd really like your current employees to kind of go and see the way that these employees deal with problems and how they work on their own projects themselves. And they can kind of cooperate, see if they can add anything in, and really just get that understanding of what these employees do on a day-to-day basis. We'd also like to grandfather in and red tag the compensation program. Right now, the HailCon employees are getting paid quite a bit more than your employees. We would like you to keep this private and have it equal fairly soon. But how you're going to do this is you're going to red tag all of the employees that are currently making that big distinction more. And just as raises come up, keep them at the same level and let them know this as well until everybody is at a fairly equal playing field. And all new hires will start at your current compensation system as well.
So with offering the partnership and offering these qualified new employees the chance to buy into your company, it does show that you are interested in having them, that they are welcome to your company, as well as it does encourage them to stick around for longer and to actually grow with your business and grow the client base as well. There's also with this new feedback with the think tank, this also is going to provide stronger evidence as to what your current employees really think of the new employees, rather than just basing your information off of complaints that there have been on the discussion board. That might just be a few individuals, but this actually takes everybody into account, so you can have really stronger evidence of what the overall feel of your current employees are. And as well, this all comes back to the making sure that there is that understanding and trust between all of the employees, and we figured this also works towards that.
So now we really want the employees to be able to learn from one another and learn one another's cultures. So we would like Cook to meet with the mentors that you currently have right now and just speak with them one-on-one, see what's working, see what's not, see what the problems are, and then go from there. We would also like to form an activity committee that will plan an activity once a month for the whole organization. And this is really to just get everybody involved and get them to work on something that's not work and really see who everybody is. We would also like to post job shadowing reflections and strategic meetings. So just catch up with everything after you do it. This is just constant reassessment, reevaluation, and going over what you've already done to make sure it's working and make the changes that need to be made. We would also like you to implement an idea funnel. As Garrett talked about before, there were the problems with your online discussion board. People were making fairly negative comments about the new employees. This gives them a very actionable way to deal with their frustrations. So again, this is a website. They send in their ideas, it goes to top management, and they can act on those ideas rather than just venting about their frustrations somewhere and actually feel like it's making a difference.
So we find that meeting with these mentors, as well as having this activity committee, does build the trust even more with all of the employees, because they'll be able to spend more time together to get to understand each other more. As well as this mitigates a lot of the clash in structure, because this gives them an opportunity through the job shadowing to actually learn each other's how each other take on projects, and then at the end of the day be able to understand what does work better in terms of being more like the other employees would have worked, and like your staff do currently. And this is really taking advantage of that diverse, of your diverse employees that you have.
So a possible fourth step of your implementation that we just wanted to mention for down the line is there is that huge opportunity of the oil and gas division and that knowledge that you didn't have before in your organization. So this is really just sitting down with people that you took on that used to be in this division and seeing if they'd be comfortable taking on projects of that division in your organization as well, because then you can tap into a whole new market. But for accountability reasons, we would like to integrate this with your shared services systems, just to make sure that there is no lure of scandal in the future.
And so using this shared group system that you already have in your company does make sure that there is segregation in the duties, as she mentioned, to make sure that, that there is no future in problems with that. As well, this does take advantage of that opportunity of expansion with the new division.
So we can take you through a timeline a little bit more if you'd like in the question and answer, but it's really just going over everything we said and then leaving time to reevaluate and making sure that employees know that this change will not happen overnight.
So quick look at financials. We can take more of a depth of a look in Q&A if you'd like to. But mostly that we've taken into account the budget for the activity committee, the think tank program, as well as the additional labor in the job shadowing that you would be taking on. Some metrics for success that we've measured have to do with the maintaining your client base, having employee satisfaction, and having a clear direction. And we can also look more at this in the Q&A if you would like to.
Well, we also have a risk, but in order to respect your time, we'd rather just.
We'll now open up the floor to questions from judges.
Maybe I'll start. One of my questions is on your financials. You indicate the cost, but do you include the loss of billable hours on that?
The loss of billable hours
Yeah, 'cause
towards.
you've got people that are going to be involved in an activity committee and other things, so they're not generating income for the firm. Have you accounted for that in your financials?
This, I mean, with your activity committee budget, that also has to do, that is included with the additional labor that those employees would be taking on. And it wouldn't be a whole lot more time that they'd be taking each month. And yes, it is included with the $600,000.
One question I have is that you did talk about the cultural learning process. However, the nature of the business is like people don't work in the same location all the time. It's like multiple locations. So how do you plan to address that part where when you're trying to integrate a culture, being in diverse locations have a big bearing on that? So strategy for that.
We find the integration of technology, the think tank, for example, will allow for people to freely communicate, talk about any frustrations, and really have those frustrations turn into action steps that upper management can take in order to move towards that unified culture together. So technology is the short answer to your question.
I just had my HR person do the survey, like just draft it up. Here's some quick questions. We have these people come together, and your recommendation is to take that survey and give it to the remainder of my. Essentially, I've added 20% employees, and I've got it. So the remaining 80% of my workforce use the same survey. Is the survey right? Like, did I ask the right questions? I mean, what was your assessment of that survey? Because that's the basis for going forward.
Yes, so with the, to really make sure that you're getting as much value out of that survey as possible, it's a lot more useful if you know the answers that your current employees would have gave. If you were to get the exact same results back from your current employees as you did from the ones you just hired, then it really wouldn't, then it would show that the survey wasn't.
The right questions.
Yeah,
it was my HR person, and we were sitting there one night, and we kind of wrote it on the back of the napkin and said, well, I think we should ask these questions to the group that's coming in. But now if I'm going to take it and I'm going to expand it out to like a significant number of my employees, is that the right questions I should be asking to help with the integration?
There could be better questions that you could be answering or be asking. I think the best way that you could find those better questions to be asking is to actually sit down and talk with some of the new employees that you've hired and your current employees, and have leave more questions open-ended so that you can find what are those better questions to be asking.
Have you thought about the risks associated with red tagging or freezing your top paid people?
Yes, we have thought about those risks, but we believe that the benefits outweigh the risks in lowering their pay. We believe that would really frustrate the 500 Hailcon employees that came over and wouldn't be very fair to them, but would be more fair to make sure that down the road everybody ends up equal.
Let me just add to that question. I think a couple of us were nodding at that question. In terms of, you spoke very highly about transparency and openness, and we're talking about blending cultures. Do you see a risk with trying to keep conversations quiet? And that seems a little counterintuitive in terms of our transparency and how we're moving forward. People talk about compensation as much as the more we tell them not to, the more that water cooler talk tends to happen. I feel that's a risk. Do you feel that that's a risk as well in terms of your strategy going forward?
Yeah, that's a great point. We're very open for you to really take your own direction in how you want to take that. We just believe that until you have a very set mindset, it's very ideal to keep quiet before you open up the discussion. Essentially, we don't want you to open up the discussion before you have a set direction you want to go.
I have some senior people in the management structure of my current organization that are not going to embrace this change at all. So have you thought a little bit about how I deal with the disgruntled managers that are going to come on board with this change?
So how to deal with the managers that you already have that might not be happy with it?
There's some senior people that have pretty good client relationships. They're not going to like this idea.
I think this, hopefully it's just a select few that there would be that problem. However, the majority of your employees are employees that have been in your company for a long time, so we wouldn't suggest adapting completely to the new staff, but keeping a lot of the values you already have, and then just considering what kind of extra value can you get from the new employees. But for a large part, you're not changing a lot. Thank you.